one of the big things that came out this year was just how corrupt our institutions are with this ideology. Those zealous activists at 17% are punching above their weight in terms of the institutions they control. They very
Well,
much
we've
control.
discovered how many of those zealous activists really have infiltrated some of the organizations that have power and really use that power for some of their more insane activism over the year. And you're right, the unions seem to be a really good example of that for sure. And some of these other organizations like IGAD, like the 519, and it can show exactly how much damage these power-seeking zealots really can have.
Yeah. But when they're explicitly identifying, I had a conversation with somebody last week, and he was really, he tried the line, and it's so 2021 that they're not teaching critical race theory in public schools.
That's
like
a
that it's to be able to say that with a straight face anymore, because it's so obvious. Anytime you have DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion, or anything that says social justice, this is all based on critical race theory and intersectionality.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Historic oppression of oppressors by the oppressed, or oppression of the oppressed, the marginal. Yeah. Right. We've got this thing that came up this year about decolonization that really showed the ugly side of what decolonization actually means. Settler colonialism. All of these buzzwords and jargon are behind these basically institutional mission statements. And the actions of people like Fred Hahn, who is the president of CUPE Ontario, and some of these organizations are all driven by this social justice ideology. They have basically declared the rest of us to be enemies for not agreeing with them.
Well, they've discovered that it's a very effective way to seize power, and it has been especially effective on the Canadian public to shut them up. Yeah. That's what I think.
Yeah. And it's, I love this one. The Elementary Teachers Federation of Ontario, the ETFO, across Canada and worldwide, what we are witnessing is an alarming trend in 2S LGBTQ plus I hate, conservatism, and bigotry disguised as care for children or concern for children. Conservatism in the same sentence with bigotry and hate. So now this is the teachers union, and they give guidance to teachers. And so if teachers are being taught that conservatism is hatred and bigotry, and they're teaching this to children, just the fact that they're teaching that in school is alienating kids from their families and turning kids against the households that they're growing up in. So it's very, very frightening, the level of power and influence that these groups have.
Yeah.
And when it comes, this is setting up for the big union leak, because Fred Hahn got all kinds of notoriety around.
Oh, yeah. He's definitely become a well-known Canadian character for sure.
Yeah.
I thought we were going to carry on with Fred Hahn.
Oh, we can. Yeah. Where was
Just
he?
To let everyone watching know, this is sometimes as much as a surprise to me as it is to you, because Shannon did most of these, so I'm following along. I'm following the story.
So I'm pretty sure that we saw Fred Hahn in June in Ottawa.
Yes.
That was when Billboard Chris and Josh Alexander came to town. That's the day that I met you. I'm pretty sure that he was on one side of the line, but he hadn't broken through. But where he really broke through into public awareness was this Union League video.
Yes.
And his...
Although it's funny because he wasn't actually in it. I don't remember him actually being in it, but he is the president and he did defend it.
So our friend Stuart Parker from BC, who's left he's living in exile now in Africa. Anyway, Stuart Parker, a long time, he had run for Premier of BC under the Green Party. I think that is part of his story. He was campaigning in the 80s against the styrofoam containers McDonald's was using. Stuart Parker has been a long-time political activist in British Columbia, and he put up a couple articles for the Macdonald Laurier Institute this year. This one was about that Union League. There was 100 and some people on that. It was a couple days before the September 20th Million March for Children, and it was kind of an emergency call to action by these union activists and these groups and organizers to try and confront the hatred and transphobia and inherent violence and whatever of parents who were trying to stand up for their rights and their obligations to protect their children from these dangerous and divisive ideologies.
That Union League call really didn't get, I mean, it got some traction in, I guess, more conservative media, as we can see here. I think they're both National Post, these ones.
Yep.
But it got very ignored by the left media in Canada. I don't remember it being covered by them at all. And I found that very curious because I thought if there was going to be a top 10, this league would be on that top 5 or maybe top 3, actually, because it was sensational leak of this group of union bosses, right? They were that creepy, discussing amongst themselves for the most part in their very soft tones, but talking about the colonialism and the white supremacy and all of the horrible people. And really what they were doing is they were plotting together as union bosses with a lot of money and individuals behind them. I don't even know how many millions of people in Canada are part of these unions, but they were plotting against regular, everyday Canadians who didn't want their children to be exposed to sex at school or sexuality, right? I thought this was possible. This was definitely in my absolute tops this year, this very, very important leak. So if you haven't watched it, go watch it.
Yeah, it was quite sickening, as you're realizing just how many people they represent and the kind of influence and power they have. So the BC Teachers Union was quite effective in mobilizing people in the Vancouver protest. And like 70 odd thousand teachers are members of the BC Teachers Federation. So a few emails connects to it's a platform to connect to a large audience of people. They're liars, right? They believe in using these tactics of social punishment and social aggression and character assassination and canceling people. They have no compunction about lying in order to get people to mobilize and trigger their emotions and get them outraged, to bring them out for their cause.
On a number of occasions in that leak, they actually made reference to some Marxist tactics, basically. And these tactics were basically
Beautiful trouble.
Control beautiful trouble, how to control the narrative, how to fight back, how to silence, how to intimidate, which are online. Beautiful Trouble is a collection of tactics that you can go read about. And that was one of them in there. So it is a treasure trove of basically proving the conspiracy theorists right. That's what I felt this one was.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for watching. It's been an eye-opening year for sure. Click on one of these suggestions for some other stories in the gender landscape in Canada. Hope you like them.